sorry I can't be doing this with you face to face and actually having a dialogue or conversation. We could go a lot deeper. At the end of every year, I always think of what to do, design, to bring value to Rex members for the next year. As you know, we've got a number of Rex members who joined our first roundtable over 22 years ago who are still active. These are some of the best operators in our industry. And the question is, how do I keep them engaged? I can't show the same movie every year. I need to think of what's new. So as I was thinking about this, and also going through recovery from a total right knee replacement, want to see the scar? No. It's really healing quite well, and everything is on target, although there is a significant impact that has slowed me down from being under surgery for 2 hours. I'm engaged in physical therapy, and got my personal trainer working on the upper part of my body. I got a masseuse working on my leg. I think everything's coming back in shape, but my good partner Eddie and my good wife Mary talked me out of flying to Dallas for the mastermind group to continue my therapy program. And although I hate not being with you guys and gals, I think it was a wise decision. I'm also going to be talking to our Rex chairs who are scattered around the world, because I think what I'm about to say is relevant to both. So I had all of December and so far in January to think of what's Rex in 2013. I also had a number of our oldest and most loyal members fly into Boston, about 6 of them, to have an afternoon powwow about what was really going well in Rex and what we could be doing better. I was moved that they took it on their own to fly here on their own and do this. These people obviously are committed. What I came up with, I titled Rex 3.0. So then I had to figure out what's Rex 1.0. And it was pretty obvious to me because I had spent some 20 years in the 70s and 80s as a strategic consultant working with literally thousands of businesses. We worked in, I totaled it up once, 34 industries, lots and lots of small, independent, owner-operated businesses, and lots of big guys. Bank of America, Domino's Pizza, Smithsonian, and so forth. The question, though, is what's Rex 1.0? During this period of consulting, I facilitated personally over 1,000 management decision-making meetings. These might have had to do with strategic planning or creating a new kind of pricing system to address a particular slowdown in sales. I would say that 90% of all of those, hold on. I would say that 99% of all those meetings had spectacular success. In that process, we also designed a problem-solving and facilitating workshop for our clients, which I think we offered some 92 times. What I learned with all this facilitating that I was leading is that if you lay down a few basic ground rules, and they're easy to lay down, people will agree to them, they make sense, like have an agenda, let everybody have a chance to talk, don't let someone dominate the conversation, take breaks when needed, define the problem before looking for solutions. When you do things like that, the meetings are dramatically more successful. Dramatically. So that's Rex 1.0. It's like, if you're going to play a professional sport, you need to know where's the playing field and what are the ground rules. And when everybody knows that and is playing by them, you got a fair game and people can play really hard. When you don't have that, you got some kind of sandlot, kid game that's not as serious or as powerful as playing professional. So Rex 2.0 showed up in the 80s when I began Roundtables. What I did was I brought peers. So everybody was the same, a CEO, and eventually in the same industry. Getting the right chemistry, and you all have an idea of what that mix is there. And then something that I've done a lot, and that is to push people on deep sharing and intimacy in terms of revealing what's really going on in their business and their life. And I think that has been at the core of the longevity of our members. By and large, however, the agenda was driven by the members' issues. What's on your mind? What are you worried about? And of course, most of that was shorter term, tactical, and operational, because it was right there on the top of the mind. And we'd spend time on that and did a lot of good jobs. The other part of the agenda was driven by Rex, which was our fire hose of relevant, cool, exciting new ideas and methods for managing their business. And they loved that, particularly when it came from outside their industry or it was a fresh viewpoint. So those two things, their agenda, our input. One other thing that we started in the last couple of years, although we've tried it off and on, but in the last couple of years we've really gotten good at this, and that is having a business review for a single club at a meeting where that club does a great deal of preparation beforehand, prepares almost a report as you would for a board of directors, gets it out to everyone, and then we spend 2-3 hours with them and often some of their staff digging into their business. And they often come with an important issue or two that we dig on, but we also uncover an issue that they hadn't thought of. Every one of these has been extremely valuable. But there's only 3 a year. Now, Rex 3.0 is responding to what's new for 2013, but it's also responding to something that I'm calling the great discontinuity. If you take a raft trip down the Grand Canyon, one of the things you'll see is layer on layer on layer of this beautiful shale, sedimentary sandstone, you know, pink and orange and red and all the colors you see in the Grand Canyon. And of course, when you go down the river, you go down, which means you're going deeper into the ground. About a mile, eventually, you get below the Earth's surface. And when you're about halfway there, all these wonderful layers of rock change, and there is a dead, sharp discontinuity where the rock now turns to something totally different. It's black, it's not sedimentary, it's obviously been baked at high temperatures, it's got crystals in it, totally different. Geologists call it the great discontinuity. You or I would look at it and say, something happened in between this and this. Oh yeah, each layer of sandstone, maybe it was a heavy winter or a light winter or some change in climate, but right here, something really big happened. And at times people have theories about that, but a huge discontinuity. I think that our world is having a great discontinuity at this period in time. Excuse me. Here's what I think has led up to this. After the Second World War, and remember the first half of the last century was kind of a mess for a lot. First World War, Second World War. But after the Second World War, huge prosperity in the United States. First thing was the war was over. Second thing is that wives started going to work. So we had dual income families. We doubled the family's income. This is really important because in the United States, our economy is driven 2/3 or 3/4, I believe, by consumer spending. So the consumers have to have money to spend. Well, we almost doubled their income. Well, after a while that ran out, kind of in the 70s. But then we discovered something else. It's called the home equity loan. Instead of saving your money and paying off your home mortgage, you could actually get that money back out and pay interest on it, of course. But now you got all this cash. You can consume more. That's terrific. Well, after a while, that started to flatten out, but something else came along, which was very interesting. And that is the housing boom. The spectacular, irrational rise of real estate prices. I knew many people who earned, who created more cash in their lives from their real estate transactions than their regular job. It's a wonderful time. So lots of money to spend. Point is now, there's nothing else here. There's no more way to increase our family income. And in fact, since many people lost tremendously in the stock market crash of '08. They're trying to recover from that and spending much more conservatively. So the consumer spending deal has shifted more dramatically maybe than in the last couple hundred years. Something else been going on. Business efficiency. I think this happened the first time that GM went to visit Toyota and realized that Toyota from top to bottom, frontline worker to CEO, was 4 layers. GM was 17. What the hell were these 13 layers doing? Why is it that it took GM 450 accountants to manage their order processing for parts, and it took Toyota 17? Well, that triggered the great layoff. Beginning in the 70s, continuing in the 80s and 90s for some 30 years, 8,000 managers were laid off every day of the year. 365 days a year for 30 years, 8,000 managers on average were laid off in the United States. They were not reemployed as managers. Some of them have stayed out of work. Some of them have gone into starting their own business or franchise. But the point is, we've made businesses extraordinarily more efficient. Add to that offshoring. Walmart drives China. Apple has 90% of its employees in China. We offshore to build the stuff that we use. Another factor has happened, and that is automation. As the ability to offshore at low prices declines, because there aren't any more declining low-cost nations, what we will do is replace it with automation. The Industrial Revolution replaced muscle. The automation revolution is replacing simple tasks. Things like preparing income taxes, preparing legal briefs, reading x-rays. It's automated. It's moving towards automation. So many, many, many what you might call middle-class jobs, desk jobs, white-collar jobs are disappearing to the machine. It's cheaper, and it's often more accurate. So we're having a huge amount of disconnectedness where we just don't have enough work for the people. I don't believe we'll ever regain the kind of employment we had 10 or 20 years ago. And when we do return to employment, as we've seen now, most of it is on very low-paying service jobs, not rewarding. This is a great discontinuity. It is changing the nature of the economy we are in. And then we had the longest recession in U.S. history beginning in 2008, with huge meltdowns of companies like Lehman, Bear Stearns, and Merrill. And what I decided is that what we were doing in Rex 2.0,